Okay, I'm going to start another video series. Once more, I don't know how many videos will be included in this. It'll be another situation of however many it takes to cover what God has shown me that I'm to share with you. And it could be a little bit long because even though this is kind of a short subject, there is a lot involved with it. I'm going to be covering the false teachings about Good Friday. Now I know some of you may be thinking, why do I do this? Because a lot of the false teachings that has been around for so many years is actually having adverse effect on a lot of people, especially the younger generation. Some of them at one point in time attend church and they hear the teaching that goes on, and then they think about this and they start adding two to two together, and they don't come up with 4. And because the math doesn't really equal out, without further studying themselves to find out what's going on, they just simply reject the teachings because they know it's not right. Now, I'm going to be reading quite a few Bible verses, but right now I'm just going to mention a couple of verses, the best I can remember. I may not recite them exactly correct, but I will correct this later if I'm wrong. But when Jesus was talking about his death and resurrection, he made the statement about as Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights, he would be in the middle of the grave or the heart of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. Now, that means 3 full days of 12 hours and 3 full nights of 12 hours. Not no partial days or partial nights, but complete days and nights. Now, based upon the teaching that Christ was crucified Friday afternoon, okay, and he arose in the early morning hours of Sunday, or the first day of the week, when you add it up, it don't equal to 3 days and 3 nights. In fact, it only equals to about 2 nights and 1 day. Now, when we think about this, if Jesus said he was going to be in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights, and he only spent 1 day and a couple of nights, somebody's a liar. And you can say what you want to, I don't believe Jesus can lie. If he could lie, then he ain't a very good example of what we're supposed to be. So, with all of this in mind, we have to take in consideration, if Jesus didn't lie, and he said he was going to be in the grave 3 days and 3 nights, and we know from reading the Bible and the teachings that man uses that he was not in that long, and somebody has to be wrong. I don't believe it was Jesus, and I don't believe it was the Bible. So who does that leave? Mankind. Now, one of the reasons being is because man takes something and runs with it without really studying all the details involved. Now, when you read Matthew, Mark, and Luke, there's not a lot of details about the time span involved from the time he was arrested, tried, crucified, put in the grave, and so on and so forth. But John, however, goes into a lot more detail about it, and when you read it and study it and go back with some of the laws in the Old Testament, then you can see and understand that people did not interpret things right, and because of it they established a situation which become a lie. You see, most of the books mentions the Sabbath and how they couldn't do certain things because of the Sabbath, and man associated the Sabbath with being the seventh day, and being as the Jewish clock started basically at 6 o'clock in the evening, or at dusk, dark. He was crucified prior to that Sabbath. Now when you go and study the laws and things, you find out that there was about 6 or 7 other Sabbaths established. One of them Sabbaths was the high feast day after the crucifixion or the sacrifice of the lamb. And people do not see and understand this. And that's what I'm going to try to share with you and bring to a clear understanding, that when Christ is gathered with the disciples for the Passover, we all assume this was on a Thursday, in order for everything to occur the way it did and come up with Friday prior to the Sabbath. But when you study the Word, you find out that the Sabbath it's talking about is a high feast day and not the seventh day Sabbath. Now with this knowledge then, we can go back and see that Christ was actually crucified on Wednesday. And with this understanding, we can see and know with a certainty then that his word spoken about being in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights is fulfilled to the exact letter because of the Wednesday crucifixion. And like I said, this is what I'm going to try to prove within the next few videos. And the purpose being in hopes that we would quit teaching lies and driving people away from God. Instead, teach the truth as the Word explains it and shows it, and draw people in to God. That is my purpose of being here, to draw people closer to God, to have fellowship with Him the way that He wants, and have true knowledge of His Word and what He expects from us. We cannot have it unless somebody teaches the truth of what the Word says. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody out there teaches lies, because there's some people that teaches exactly what I teach. But they're rare, I guess you'd say few in between, but they are there. So I hope that you watch this next series of devotionals, and that you will study along with me and learn for yourself. And I hope you will be blessed from it. And I hope you will gain a true knowledge of God's Word. Once more, I'd like to ask God's blessings on you, and I hope you have a beautiful day.